say is that these are the two projects that we could get approved. The Arlington School is a great project if they're not tied together. So if you decide that, hey, look, let's do the Arlington School, let's get the higher level of savings. I didn't get into the other ancillary benefits, but we hold educational days. We did, I don't know, 86 graders, I think, in Fitchburg, and had a solar day, and how to, you can become an electrician, you can become an engineer. We partner with technical schools and take interns and apprentices. I mean, there are many ancillary benefits beyond just the pure savings, accessing clean energy, if that's a goal of the community.
I would like to add a little bit about making City Hall as a Lawrence pride. Okay, there are a few things that come with it. One is the pride part of it, but also we are trying to apply for all kinds of improvements to the City Hall for heat pumps, convert the whole building electrification. When we apply for these grants, when we say that it already has solar panel project in pipeline or already there, the heat pump project becomes a lot easier to get grants on. So it becomes an electrification project, and City Hall is where people come in, they see that city is taking leadership in this whole thing. So it becomes a wonderful token for the city to be proud of. So yes, it's not a huge deal if you just drop it, other opportunities are there, but I really want to represent this as a question of pride. I work very hard to make the city a wonderful place, a place where it needs to thrive. It doesn't have it should not be where it should be. I want it to thrive like crazy. And I think City Hall can represent as a starting point for everyone. This is the right thing, this is a good thing, and it's not going to cost you anything except it's going to start saving money today, and it's going to improve saving money because energy cost goes up, but the rates that we are getting are fixed for 20 years. So in every respect, it becomes a great example. Arlington School is obviously a very big project. So I would like to urge you to think of it from a variety of angles. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, so Mr. President, what is the amount of savings for City Hall?
86,000 at your current electric rate, slightly more if the recent bill that Anil has reflects a higher electric rate.
That's $86,000 over 20 years?
Total 20 years, yep.
So about $4,000 a year?
We can't fit very many solar panels.
Or something like that, that's the
Yep.
savings, that's the savings, right?
86,000.
About over 20 years, that's
20
gonna
years.
be about $4,000, right? Ish.
That's correct, Councilor Plan. It's about $4,000
It's four-
a year.
Okay. I got you, so between 4 and 5, how's that?
Yep.
Okay. So, somebody said that you've already talked to the folks with the Historic Commission. What was their response or their reply when that was brought to their attention?
So I don't know what the date was. We put an inquiry in with, do you have the name? So I believe it was last October, we had put an inquiry in. I mean, we had pulled deeds and all kinds of document out of the registry just to check things out. I don't believe we ever got an official response.
We will not be proceeding this project without their explicit approval, for sure. Yeah. We have asked them, but they haven't responded yet.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, so I'm trying to make sure I understand you correctly. So you've asked them, but they did not respond? Is that what you're saying? You've written a letter, you requested comment, and they did not respond to the request?
Yeah, we haven't heard from them.
Okay. I would feel much better. I don't know what their workload is. I don't think that these people who are on those boards have a passion for things like this building and other buildings. And so I think if it was on their radar screen, I think knowing the people who serve on that board, they would very much provide some sort of response. I would feel more comfortable hearing what that response is. I'm okay with Arlington. I mean, I'd vote for that twice today if I could. I'm fine with that. Not a problem. But I'm really before we go down that hole with City Hall, I would like to get there. Give them one more bite at the apple.
Sure.
That's what I would want.
That's fair.
Council President, I don't want to stop the debate or discussion if anybody else wants to, but if everybody has spoken, if they've wanted to speak, at some point, I would like to make a motion to do two things. I would like to make a motion to table and resend communication to the Historic Commission and make sure that they are aware that this is up for an imminent vote. And if they don't respond, that means that they're losing the bite of the apple, and we're going to have to take a vote.
Councilor Plant, we have both of the items together on the right item, so I think that we should split those items into two.
Council President.
Okay, so we're gonna eventually down the road, once we finish up the conversation and the discussion, we're gonna split item 437A into 1 and 2. So in that way we can have 437A for 1, which is gonna be City Hall, and then 437A B, 2, to be discussed for the Arlington School. But let's continue the discussion. In the meantime, Councilor Santiago.
Hi. Earlier you said you have you
the mic
did a
close.
contract with another city like Worcester.
Yep.
Can you mention how big was the contract with them, and can you mention if you have another contract in Lawrence, a private company?
Sure. As far as, Walter, are you still on by any chance?
I am, yes.
Oh,
I got
okay. So,
booted. And
there was a
made
two-part question
Yeah,
there.
it's-
I'll address your second question first, and then, Walter, if you could just maybe speak to a few of the other surrounding communities that have decided to enter into power purchase agreements, I'd appreciate it. But to answer your question, we can't get a lot of solar approvals in Lawrence right now. There are pockets all over the city where the grid is okay. One of them was the GEM Group. They put a system the exact same size that we proposed on the high school, like a 720 kilowatt, 1,500 solar panels. The system has been significantly reducing their costs, and it was well over, I believe, over $5 million in savings over a 20-year period. It's a phenomenal project. I'd be happy to put you in touch with anyone over there. But as far as other cities and towns that are entering into power purchase agreements, I listed a few on the proposal here. Let me just pop back up. And Walter, if you want to speak to, Worcester, any of the other surrounding areas, I guess we've signed 11 properties in Lowell, working with Methuen, North Andover. Walter, do you want to comment on that any further?
Sure. I'm a partial list of municipalities only, and we have private nonprofits, municipalities, state agencies, et cetera, that have gone through our program. But I'm just looking at the list now. Walpole, Lowell, Dedham, Harvard, Sharon, Sudbury, Fitchburg, Arlington, Somerville, Medfield, Maynard, Melrose, Danvers, Hopkinton. That's an extensive list.
Right.
How big is the contract? The most bigger do you have?
I'm sorry, do you mind repeating that?
The most bigger the contract?
The biggest contract you
The
have.
biggest contract do you have in which city?
I would say that the biggest one is going to be Boston. It's over time, it'll be 200.
Private or?
Public, yeah. So we'll be doing power purchase agreements through, you've heard of the company Honeywell. They're a electric services provider. We'll be building the projects for them for Boston. Yeah. And then all of the Lowell projects will be power purchase agreements, combination of rooftops, schools, parking structures, like parking canopies with solar panels on top of them.
So just to clarify from that, are you doing that project for the city of Boston or somebody else in Boston?
they'll be all at Boston Properties, Boston Schools, the Transportation Department. I'm not the person personally working on that one. We have 10 salespeople at my company, but it's a massive undertaking, yeah.
But is it for the city of Boston?
City of Boston,
Yeah,
yep.
those are all municipalities that are on the slide.
Yep.
Boston, Worcester, those are municipal projects. Boston, Worcester, Hopkinton, and so on. They're members of Power Options.
Council President Silva Santiago. No, wait, she still have the floor.
And can you tell me about how many kilowatts? Because here we have 300
300 panels.
300 panels.
Yep.
And the biggest you have in Boston, and was in city Boston, and I would like to know how bigger.
They would vary from the size of this location here all the way to larger, I would say, than the high school here in Lawrence. 50 to 720 kilowatts.
General, right here in Lawrence, do you bring in private company?
Private businesses? Yeah, I would say, there's got to be at least a dozen. None approved recently except for the GEM Group because of the grid situation. But what I can do is create a report and send it to everyone of all the projects that we've got in Lawrence.
When was the last time did you get the last contract?
I believe the GEM Group's project was turned on January of '23,
Okay,
somewhere around there.
thank you.
It is important to recognize as well, around that conversation, that during the Budget and Finance Committee, you mentioned that there is about 750 projects that your company have, and about 250 projects you guys own. So that means that about 500 projects were owned by the institution that hired you to do those, right?
Yeah, I can.
That was something that get brought up during the conversation. So 33% of your projects are the one that you own. The rest of them are owned by someone else.
That's correct. So I would say from 2009 to 2015, we almost exclusively sold projects to commercial businesses, manufacturing companies, warehouses, office buildings. That's all we did. They took the tax credit. In 2015, we had won this Power Options RFP, and we decided that we wanted to be project owners ourselves. So we do that in two different ways. We rent roofs from commercial building owners, or we sell power to municipal off-takers, school districts, municipalities, towns. So I wouldn't say it's a new phenomenon, but like in the last 9 years, we've really ramped up us owning the projects versus selling them to the end users.
I just had a point of clarification on the motion. If we table City Hall, will we miss that July 16th or 18th? Okay. Okay, only for Arlington, okay. I just want to make sure that didn't.
We haven't get to that point yet. Those are going to be clarified eventually. Councilor Rosario.
Thank you. I just want to offer a motion, though. I mean, a motion to split item 437-23A to 1 and 2, 1 being Arlington School and 2 being City Hall.
All right, there is a motion to split the item into 1 and 2. Can you hear a second?
Discussion.
There's a motion to split, but the discussion will continue, just into 2 different items. Yep, there is a motion on the table, properly second, discussion on the split. This is just to split the item, the underlying motion will continue. And the
Yes,
conversation
Council
will continue.
President, I just want to add something to, can I,
On the splitting portion?
in the splitting portion?
Okay.
Just taking
Councilor-
through you, Council
Councilor
President.
Luzon?
Just to keep in mind that they mentioned the deadline, and they also mentioned that in case that the Historical Commission doesn't agree with this, they will be able to stop the project. Is that accurate? The one on City Hall?
Nope, so the one at City Hall is fully approved.
Yeah.
It could be built starting as soon as we get a permit. The Arlington school is the one that National Grid had a little bit of an issue with, and they said, if you want to connect a system this size to our grid in this area of the city, you need to put a piece of equipment on the
Okay.
substation, a relay switch. That switch is like $56,000, and like, we're ready to pay for it as part of the development cost, and it is reflective, as you pointed out previously, in the power purchase agreement rate, right? But it's like 0.00, you know, like 1/10 of a cent, right, of the overall development cost. So we do need to pay that, and I know it sounds like a fire drill, but we applied for that project last year. We were approved on April 24th. We'd come to a few of the Budget and Finance Committee meetings to try to explain the situation we're in, and I just did not want anyone to think that that was like our deadline or our timeline. Under the tariff that National Grid is run under, you know, by the DPU and everything, like, it's up to them. They say you pay this in 60 business days, or they will literally cancel the project the following business day. It's just the way it works.
Oh, thank you for the clarification. Thank you.
So essentially,
Thank you, Council
the-
President.
Sure. Essentially, the $56,000 that he mentioned, that there's a deadline on that funds were going to be reduced out of the saving that the city of Lawrence will have directly. So that was part of the discussion as well
Right.
on the Budget and Finance Committee. We have a motion on the table to split item 437, A23 into 1 and 2, 1 being the Arlington School and the other, and 2 being the City Hall. At this point, I call the questions. All those in favor for the split, please say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? The ayes have it.
Council
So
President.
now we are going to continue with the, one of the motion. I mean, I guess that we're gonna have to entertain one motion individually now.
Motion to approve 437A1, which is the Arlington School project.
So before you do that, do you withdraw the original motion? Just to be clear and have that one as an underlying motion.
We'll draw the 20 years motion. We could continue on that with the 20-year motion on the
No,
Arlington
no,
School.
no, because the fact that we split both,
But we
so
already
now we're
voted.
gonna have one extra motion on top of it, and then down the line, it's gonna be in the air.
What is the underlying motion?
The underlying motion it was to approve 437A23 before split.
Oh, okay.
So you withdraw the motion?
Withdraw the motion.
All right, now we entertain a new motion for 437A23-1.
Motion to approve.
There was a motion to approve at 437A23-1, which is the Arlington School only. And the motion is to approve for the next 20 years, or to get into an agreement with that 20 years contract. Discussion on the Arlington School only. There is a second, can I hear a second?
Second.
There is a motion on the table, properly second. Discussion.
Council President, on the last thing, I've been reading this book by Friedman. It's called, I forget what it's called now. But one of the premises of the book was this thing called Moore's Law. And Moore's Law used to be about the quickness of technological change. And every 2 years, things would change. And now things that have changed technology-wise have gone through the roof, things very immensely quickly. So I just, one of the premises here is that we're dealing with this technology today going out 20 years. And I think we can all agree that 20 years, that once you start nailing whatever you're putting onto the roof, it's going to be outdated pretty soon. And I'm just wondering what that means for us as a city who's recouping the monies from that, if anything at all. And I just wanted to ask that question.
Do you mind if I ask for a on whether you own it or whether we own it?
So we're going to be leasing it. We're going to go with the motion, which is the lease.
Okay, so that's a great question. Technology does improve. I think if you look at laptops and TVs, they get thinner and they get better. We're at the point with solar panel technology that it's getting there. I'm not going to say it's not going to get better, but it's incremental. So it used to be that we went from 400 watt panels to 425 to 450. The last was like 480 watt to 485, right? They just made a model change and started shipping new ones. I don't see it getting exponentially better, and it comes down to how many kilowatt hours you can produce per square foot. So one of these panels is like 32 square feet. It's not a residential panel, they're large commercial panels. It's going to get better, but it's not going to get exponentially better. And what I would say too is you can only apply for a tax credit once. So if you refresh those panels at year 10, that's great, but you have to pay the full price of that, and you'll never recoup that in additional incremental energy savings. We've looked at it a bunch, that question comes up quite a bit. It really is better to place those panels up there and let them sit for a 20-year period. What's interesting too is that the panels come with a 25-year performance warranty. They only degrade at 0.5% per year, every year, for 25 years. This agreement's only for 20, but they're warranted for 25. If I do the math on that, they're still 87% of what they were when they were put there day one. So the technology will get better. To refresh it, the cost of that is usually not, won't make sense.
And the last thing, my last question through you, Mr. President, is that did the city administration, are you suggesting 20 years or 25 years for the lease? Because right now we're talking 20. Is that is that what we're recommending? What you're recommending to us, is 20 years?
So it's 20 years on the rooftops, and the reason why you saw 25 in the presentation is we do 25 on all parking structures.
Thank you.
Any other questions on, in regard to the Arlington School?
To you, Council President.
Councilor Luzon?
You mind please repeating the saving that we'll have once we place the panels on Arlington School?
Sure. If you count 20 years from the day the system is turned on, it's $601,000. And again, that savings comes from the reduction of what you would be paying National Grid to just buying the power from the system we own off your own roof at a rate that Power Options, your energy advisor, sets through their original competitive procurement.
Do you mind also sharing the cost of the project?
Yes, so the Arlington School is a $791,000 project. That includes equipment, permitting, drawings, labor, equipment rent. There's got to be 60 line items that go into pricing out a solar project. All the labor, all the approvals. I mean, there's a list a mile long. I can kind of get you what's involved in that, but total turnkey, it's $791,000. One-time cost with an ongoing annual, highly recommended maintenance agreement if you were to own it. We monitor those via the web or a 5G modem.
And also, do you mind sharing, so essentially if the city of Lawrence owned that project, the saving will be after we recoup the initial cost of the project?
President, let me,
Mr. O'Neill?
I shared a document with you that actually shows.
Yeah, O'Neill, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about a new
I know.
project. That's out of order. That's not part of it. So we're not entertaining the other project that we own. We're not talking about negligence. We're talking about what's going to happen.
I wanted to just say that what
Yeah.
happens when we have an ownership issue with the water treatment plant, we still haven't recovered the money that we.
Yeah, but we
paid.
still wanted to know, O'Neill, we still want to know like what the saving, because it's fair for my constituents,
That's a fair
for me to let them know what are the two projects. So one thing doesn't take away from the others. So, councilors, any other questions about, in regard to this specific motion, which is just for the school-related project?
Council President, I promise I have one last question, and I promise this is my last
No, I
one.
mean, you can ask
So,
as many as you want.
well, I don't want to, we have a lot of stuff to talk about. There's going to be dealing with this tonight, and we're all going to get tired pretty soon. So when we're doing this cost savings and we're thinking about the school budget, is this a savings on the city side or is it a savings on the school side? And if it's savings on the city side, are we going to be able to attribute those savings for the net school spending portions and other things that we have required to do? How does all that play out?
This is 100% on the school side, that we're, by doing this project, they save $601,000 over 20 years, which is a conservative number. It more than likely will be a little bit more than that because of the electricity rates, as Chad just mentioned. So it's again, as the CAFO of the city, it's kind of a no-brainer. We don't pay anything, and we save $600,000 over 20 years. It's kind of, again, the joining Power Options, the reason why we joined Power Options, and it costs us, I think our dues are about $2,500 a year, is to get these savings, energy savings recommendations from Power Options and take advantage of their massive purchasing power. So again, as CAFO, it's highly recommended that we proceed with this project. The school department saves some money. I know they have a lot of money, but $600,000 is not small money for really doing nothing.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So the saving will not be for the City of Lawrence General Fund. It will be for the school system of the City of Lawrence in general, not for any particular area. Any other questions in regard to this specific item for this specific school only for the 20 years? At this point, if it's no questions, I call the questions. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
No. Roll call, please.
Counselor Selena Reyes is noted as absent. Counselor Marmal?
No.
Counselor Santiago?
No.
Counselor Del Rosario?
Yes.
Counselor Luzon?
No.
Counselor LaPlante?
Yes.
Counselor Levy is noted as absent. Council Vice President Infante?
Yes.
Council President Rodriguez?
I vote no. What's the count?
Motion fails. 4. 4 yeses? We have 3 yeses.
That
Yes,
is,
gone.
motion fail. So we go into the next item, which is item 437. So 437A23-2, which is for the City Hall. Can I get a motion on that?
I make a motion to, and then I'll be making a motion to table. I'd like to make a motion that can we just table that matter here and then, and ask for,
If you ask for a motion to table, it could be tabled at this level.
two things. I'd like to make a request that we send a communication to the Lawrence Historic Commission for their opinion on putting solar panels on City Hall, and then couple that with a motion to table.
Second.
If anybody would like another motion, before that, I mean, that was also in order. There is a motion on the table together with the communication to be sent to the Historical Commission. It's been properly seconded by Councilor Santiago. No discussion on the table matters. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any negative? The ayes have it. Now we have item 437B, which is the solar panel PPA lease contract with Select Energy Property for any other property in the City of Lawrence. Councilors, at this point, I think that we should withdraw this item, since each specific property will be coming in front of us individually. I will entertain a motion.
Motion to withdraw item 437B-24, dash 23.
There is a motion to withdraw, properly second. Discussion. I hear no. At this point, I call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Our next item is item 33224, which is the net metering agreement. This is also another energy project for the City of Lawrence. We have Anil and the rest of the team that they were presented in front of the Budget and Finance. But before I call this item, I'll entertain Madam Vice President Infante, item 33224.
Item 332-24, net metering agreement, was brought up from the Budget and Finance Committee as a committee report, and I make that as a formal motion.
There is a motion on the table to accept this item as a committee report for the councilors to discuss. Can I hear a motion? Can I hear a second?
Second.
Properly second, on the committee report, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any negative? The ayes have it. So we have item 33224, which is the net metering agreement. The project was presented to us. We have the team in front of us, so we can explain a little more.
Yes.
Do you guys have a presentation?
Yes. Good
All
evening,
right.
council members. My name is Matthew Degatti. I represent Renewables Worldwide along with my business partner, Christopher Angelo, and we have before us this evening Agilitas Energy, who is the project developer of the community solar farm project that we have before you here today. Before we get into the actual presentation, which Agilitas and Matthew Accardi, who represents them, will be conducting, I just wanted to give a quick overview of the last 20 months, because that's about the process it's been to kind of get to this point this evening, and I'm going to be very brief. And this, again, is more of an overview, not for discussion of questioning, just, again, to give everyone up-to-date information. So I think it's important to mention Renewables Worldwide. We work locally and nationally with solar farm developers. Those are things you see on the sides of the highways. You know, anyone ever driven along Mass Pike or any highway and you see panels out in the field? Those are solar farms. So to make a distinction this evening, although that's wonderful, rooftop solar, we're not talking about rooftop solar. The distinction is we're talking about community solar farms, which are in fact a Massachusetts legislated product, and they are virtual in that sense, so there's nothing invasive going on. Renewables Worldwide, we are veteran-owned. We are based in the Merrimack Valley. Our job is very simply to work with solar farm developers in locating customers for their solar farms. We work in the commercial space, we work in the federal housing space, and we work in the public space. Obviously here tonight, working with towns and schools of that nature. What our job is, simply, is to consult and educate those entities on the benefits of virtually, and again, I'm going to stress that word virtually, because we're not talking about rooftop here, virtually connecting to a local solar farm. And Agilitas, in their presentation, is going to explain certainly in much more detail about that. Our customers range. We work with a lot of federal housing across the United States. We've signed on many of the federal housings in New York, in Maine, several in Massachusetts. We also work on the retail level with Chick-fil-A's, Dunkin' Donuts, those types of customers. Mass School of Law locally here is a customer of ours, Lowell General Hospital, UMass, et cetera. So we've worked with many types of entities, and I will say that 80% of the towns in this state of Massachusetts are currently receiving the benefits of community solar and the savings that are attributed with it. And being a Lawrenceian myself, having been born and lived in and owned property in Lawrence for about 25 years, when this opportunity came about, when Chris and I sourced it, I wanted to bring it to the city and really have them benefit from the opportunity. Why? Well, we sourced this opportunity. It's a unique program. It's through the Massachusetts Department of Public Utilities and what's called the Massachusetts System of Insurances. Without getting overly technical, that is just a regulatory body that oversees these projects and makes sure they're, for lack of a better word, up to snuff. Since then, this program has been vetted and approved. You heard the word here tonight of the company. Power Options has reviewed this program on behalf of Agilitas and given its blessing. Anil Navkil, who is the mayor's energy advisor, has vetted this program to his liking as well. It's gone through the appropriate departments, procurement, city attorney, et cetera. And this program is unique to other, and compared to other solar farm projects that we've worked on over the last 7.5 years in the state of Massachusetts and beyond. And what is unique about it, again, it's regulated by the entities I mentioned prior, Mass Department of System of Insurances, and Department of Public Utilities. There is an application process which was submitted over 20 months ago, specific to the city of Lawrence to partake in this program, which was approved by Massachusetts System of Insurance. And the entire solar farm production and the entire farm itself will be dedicated to the city of Lawrence. So usually when we have a solar farm, we have hundreds of customers on those farms most often. Because this is a unique program specific for a public utility, or a public entity, that has to be individually part of the farm. So the city of Lawrence is dedicated to this farm should you choose to move forward with it. It has a capacity maximum, which has been reached. So in the state of Massachusetts, and as you all heard this evening, with solar in general and rooftop, there's not a lot of opportunity because of infrastructure issues, saturation issues, these things. This is a capped program as well. And City of Lawrence, again, should you move forward, did receive the last capacity allocation for this particular project. So why are we all here? What is the snapshot? And Agilitas is going to go into much more detail, and I'm about a minute away from being done here, so just bear with me. It's really here tonight to discuss the opportunity for the city of Lawrence to save just under $150,000 per year with this program. Not in 20 years, per year, annually. So let me please stress that. I'm not a great math guy, but if you do that cumulatively over the next 20 years, that's just under $3 million per year. Now, what makes this unique is that it's being offered at no cost. So this is free. It's completely owned, managed, operated by Agilitas Energy. Don't feel bad for them. They're getting compensated by the federal government, state, local facilities, so they're making their money too. But the benefit is they need you just like you need them. There's a savings opportunity here. The savings is guaranteed for 20 years. As rates rise, and I don't know if anyone have an electric bill here, whether you're at home or an apartment, rates do rise. They may fall, it ebbs and flows, but chances are over the next 20 years, rates are going to rise. Therefore, your savings could actually increase. The risk is rates may come down, you may save less. That's your risk. But other than that, it's a free program. It's completely non-invasive, by the way. There's no equipment, there's no widget, there's no gadget, there's nothing involved in the city, there's nothing on the roofs, there's nothing inside walls or anything like that. It's completely virtual. So, I ask, and I candidly ask, where could the city allocate or reallocate $150,000 a year to other resources and other opportunities, whether it be for hiring new jobs, infrastructure, parks, things of that nature. So that being all said, I'm going to segue now to our colleague and our partners in this project, Agilitas Energy, Matthew Accardi. He is the lead project developer. I'll segue to him.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for the introduction. Good evening, council members. Thank you for the opportunity to present this evening. I'll be rather...
Name and address for the record, please.
Excuse me?
Name and address for the record,
yes.
please.
Matt Accardi from Agilitas Energy. I'm actually in New York. If you need my address, it's 11 Belmar Drive. Okay. Yeah, so thank you for the opportunity this evening. I'm going to first just provide an overview of what we call the net metering program, which Matt was hitting on. And then I'm going to get into an offer or a request of the city council to consider a net metering agreement with our company, Agilitas Energy, regarding a project that we have and expect to be up and operating by next June. So let me just begin with a quick overview of net metering. So the net metering program comes from the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 64, Section 39, and that law governs the generation and distribution of gas and electric. That law is further regulated under 220 CMR, Section 18 by the Public Utilities, Department of Public Utilities, and what this offers is a unique solar incentive program, as Matt mentioned, to incentivize energy developers such as Agilitas Energy, Solar Electric, that spoke earlier, to partner with what we call off-takers. So an off-taker in this case would be the city of Lawrence. Other off-takers might be a large industrial complex or a hospital. Another off-taker might be a group of residents called community solar. So the Massachusetts General Law sets up the net metering program to work in order to give developers like us a place for the energy that we're developing and producing. That energy needs to go somewhere and be used by someone. So we are incentivized to make sure that in instances like the opportunity we have here, that we have a project that has been applied for and approved to have a public utility public entity off-taker, which is you all, a city. And so, the net metering program, it's going to incentivize us by attributing a credit to your electricity bill. So what happens is our project is going to generate electricity. That electricity is going to go out into the distribution system that National Grid manages. They manage as they are regulated by the Department of Public Utilities. National Grid, we all have a meter here right at our house that spins. It spins at your house likely in one direction. It counts the energy going into your house, off of the grid into your house. At our project, it's going to spin the other way. It's going to count the amount of energy being produced from our solar farm and being put into the grid. And the calculations, that count of coming off of our meter is established as a credit. And then that credit would go towards a public entity off-taker such as yourselves. It would go to your bill. So essentially that credit of all the value of the energy that our project is producing would go into your energy bill. And that's done virtually. That's done through National Grid. That's through their net meter. Their meters are counting the amount of energy coming out of our project and going into your various facilities through your meters. They will then kind of balance your electricity bill, balance your account with all the credits that our project created and distributed into the grid. Now, a little bit about that is that to add to that net metering credit, we call it the NMC, the net metering credit rate, includes more than what you might see under a power purchase agreement. It includes what we call the full stack of that value of the energy. So if you look at your energy bill at home, you'll see the utility is charging you for their sourcing of the energy to a generator. They have to pay for the generation of the energy. They have to pay for the transmission of the energy to their grid, and then they have to pay for the cost to distribute that to your house. So all those costs are added and then added to your bill. So under a power purchase agreement where you're leasing out for a solar system, you're going to get only what is the value of the energy that's produced, but before it would have gone into the off. So it's almost as though you're not turning on the lights while you're getting the energy from your project. Here, you're running your energy as you are just fine, and you're getting a savings from our project through the credits that our project is creating, and it's going to cover the full stack of the value of that energy. So you'll see a greater savings through the net metering program than you might if you were just reducing your own energy demand. So I think, credits, that's the net metering crediting program. It allows an entity like us to have a project that is not located within the city of Lawrence, but to still give you all, the city, the net metering credits, what's being generated from our project. So Matt mentioned about 20 months worth of work with the mayor's office. Yes. Why? Well, that's because these incentives for a developer like us to work with a public entity as yourselves, they have only so many, there's only so many incentive available. What they have is they call capacity blocks. So they have X number of megawatts, which is about 10 times more or 100 times more than a kilowatt we were talking about in the previous project. So we're talking about a scale of megawatts here. And so we've been able to reserve through National Grid, through the DPU, the necessary capacity credits or capacity block for the net metering proposal that we're going to share this evening. So the utility has already agreed to this, and it is, it's compliant with the net metering regulations and requirements. So thank you to the mayor's office and Renewable Energy for setting this up, connecting Agilitas with the city of Lawrence. So as I said, we do have a project. I'll get into that kind of detail right now. We have a project called WA Farms Solar Project. It's located in Warren, and it will generate 2.7 megawatts of electricity. This is just a visual overview of how net metering works. We're there on the right, Agilitas Energy, with our solar farm. We're collecting energy from the sun and putting electricity into the grid. That energy is going through the grid, a la the net metering agreement, which is approved by the utility. And then the utility will accredit the city of Lawrence as a public entity with the credits that come from the Agilitas solar project. We're going to get into the next slide real quick, just details on that project. But what we're offering is a split of the credit, which is more than many companies offer and we would offer the city 12.5% of the credits that are generated. Just details on the project. As I said, it's located in Warren. So that's, again, net metering with the ability to virtually net meter your projects. We can take advantage of this project here and be able to credit the energy towards your bill here in the city, and that is even despite, the previous presentation had mentioned some issues with the distribution lines and the need for utility upgrades in the city. This is a great way around that, and let me get to the next slide. Your projected savings, what we expect for the city to save if we were to enter into this net metering agreement. So our solar system is going to install 2,700 kilowatts of energy. That's the amount of energy that will hit the grid. The 3,406 kilowatts, that's DC, that's when the energy hits the panels, before it goes into the inverters and the panels and out to the distribution system. So it's going to be oversized for that DC AC conversion. We expect that the project will produce 4.1 kilowatt hours of energy per year. We're going to share the 12.5% of the revenue that 4.1 kilowatt hours a year produces, and that 12.5% would equate to $149,000 for the city every year. Over the 20 years, we'd expect to see a net savings of $2.9 million over the 20 years of the project. We understand the current usage of the city, 18 million kilowatt hours per year. This would offset about the 4 million. You would still have 14,000 kilowatt hours per year that you would come up with, paying National Grid, installing rooftop solar projects, et cetera. So again, and this was just based on the last 3 years. So there's a picture of the National Grid bill to show, you will see on your bill a negative amount, and that's how you'll realize your savings. Is there any questions about these numbers so far? Okay, and then just real quick, net metering, the benefit of net metering, and again, the incentive through the state, the Massachusetts general law, was to promote renewable energy, to promote the use of renewable energy, and also to promote the distribution of that renewable energy to public entities and cities such as the city of Lawrence. There's really zero risk for a city under the net metering program. Agilitas Energy, we are going to own the project for the long term. We are constructing the project. We did all the work to have the entitlements to build the project, and we expect that project to be operational by next summer. There is really no regulatory risk here. The net metering program, the Department of Public Utilities has been regulating solar projects just like this for over 10 years. And 80% of the municipalities in Massachusetts participate in net metering in one way or another. And we'd like to bring the city of Lawrence into that group. You have?
Councilor Vice President Infante.
Thank you, through you, Council President. Can you let us know what cities or towns like around Lawrence are currently involved in this net metering program?
We have a list here. These are some towns and entities. So the Greater
Greater
Lawrence Sanitary District.
We have the screen here, and the screen didn't. All right, never mind. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go back to just the risk, or the lack of risk, right? So this is what the net metering program was set up for by the legislature. This is how the DPU has been regulating it. The risk is 100% on Agilitas Energy. We're going to own the project for the long term. We do, like most solar projects, the life expectancy is 20 years. Depending on that, we can extend that, but there's no financial risk to the city whatsoever. We're not asking for a cent up front. Nothing. The project is all the way down in Warren, and it's a virtual net metering program. So ideally, if this is attractive to the city, we can enter the agreement. And yeah, it's just that simple. You'll see a negative number on your bill, and it will be settled after.
Council President.
So just before I actually extend the opportunity to discuss. The previous slides was the question from Councilor Vice President Infante. If you can put the previous slides on there.
I'm sorry?
No, the previous slides was the response for Councilor Vice President Infante, which is all the cities and towns around us
Yes.
that have that. Do you mind just saying it for the record?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I can read out the list. So other towns that are participating in the net metering program, you have the Greater Lawrence Sanitary District, Greater Lawrence Technical School, Town of Andover, Town of North Andover has 2 projects. The City of Methuen has 2 projects. The City of Lowell has 6 projects, and only one of those projects are located within the City of Lowell that I know of. And then the Town of Biloxi has 2 projects. And I'm sorry for not saying the Massachusetts City.
We got you.
I know
we got
you're
you on the
very
spelling.
Bring back the Lawrence native person.
We got you on the spelling.
nervous. These guys are
Let's talk
local.
about with the Lawrence kid right here. Do you mind reading the cities? Massachusetts people, that's how we are. Sorry.
I first said I was not going to mention I was from New York, so sorry.
All right.
Yeah, so those are the cities. Again, I'll just review. We see 0 risk. That's why the DPU set these regulations up that way. It's why they allow for virtual net metering this way. And just briefly, Agilitas Energy, we are a Massachusetts-based company. It started in 2014. We own over 26 megawatts of solar and battery energy storage projects, and we work with a number of municipalities throughout, the Northeast, primarily New England, and now a bit more projects in New York, thanks to me. But yeah, we really find that we're working very well with municipalities and being able to provide this energy for them to offtake. Benefits and the clean energy stuff. It's really great all around. So.
Right.
I will finish there, take questions. My phone number is there. My colleague Mustafa Sezgin, he is our technical expert, and he is the project manager on the WA Farms project in Warren. So we're both here if you have any more questions.
Sure. Before we continue, and I extend the opportunity to Councilor Rosario, well, thank you for the presentation. I'll say that at the Budget and Finance Committee, it was not a good presentation, but you definitely explained the program how a lot better than before. So we definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, it's important that you guys do understand it, obviously.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, it's important. And just to be clear on the savings, it's $149,000 around there every year.
Every year.
So
Every
with
year for
over
20 years.
over $2 million on saving.
Almost $3 million. in 20
almost
years.
almost $3 million on saving.
Yes.
Potentially.
Yes.
Over 20
And if we don't
on a
get
20
cloudy
years period.
days, then we don't get a lot of we might do even better than that, right? Yeah.
Yep. All right. Councilor Rosario.
Thank you, through you, Council President. Making fun of the way you were pronouncing the city, in the morning there's a window commercial that said, don't do business with people that doesn't know how to pronounce your city's name. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but that's okay. The question that I have, the question that I have is, this is great, right? But why National Grid does not offer these type of projects?
Well,
The utility
National
company.
Grid is a public utility tightly regulated by the Department of Public Utilities, so what they're allowed to do is pretty strict. Mustafa, you want to?
National Grid can only distribute.
Mr.
They
Arneo?
cannot produce energy, they cannot own the energy, they can only distribute the energy. That's my charter. That's
Councilor Rosario.
Council
you're done?
President?
Councilor Vice President Infante.
Thank you. So The reason for my question earlier, I was on the Greater Lawrence Technical School committee when we approved this project. So I'm very familiar with the job that you guys have done with Greater Lawrence Technical School. And we have another former school committee member that has even more recent knowledge on the benefits and the impacts that Greater Lawrence Tech has had through this project. My question is, it's been a while that I've been familiar with this, but what I want to know, what is one negative aspect of this project? What can we, is there anything that we can be like, or
I think
foresee, or, because everything sounds great, but this is real life too.
I want you to really pay, it's actually right there, that slide that says, if we buy that much capacity from them, we cannot buy similar capacity from somewhere else. That means that we have about 18,000 units, 18,000 megawatt hours, whatever that unit is, 18 million megawatt hours that we are buying. Total energy, out of that, 4 million megawatt hours is committed. So even if we put all solar everywhere, we would not be able to exceed 14 megawatt hours. That's the only thing. That's really such a minute risk. In fact, I don't know whether you call it as a risk, because even if the state does not allow us to have more than 10 megawatt capacity on the city properties, no more than 10 megawatt. So if you put 10 megawatt hours, we still will have leftover capacity to meet. So you really don't have any risk. But there is, if you want to ask the risk, that's the only thing I can think of as a risk category. Am I clear?
All right, any other questions in regard, Councilor LaPlante?
So the one thing, the Vice President asked another good question, and I was thinking about the same thing, which is this. $149,000 seems like an awful lot of money, but over inflation and the purchasing power of $149,000 in 2024 is going to be much different than 2044. And it seems as though when we look at $149,000 in 2044, if I'm alive back then, that's going to be a pittance. It really is. Is there an inflation adjustment that goes through that has escalators as we go through this time? Because right now, the purchase power is somewhat, it's going to be really minimal in 20 years from now.
Just before you answer that question, as I understand it at the Budget and Finance Committee, it was not necessarily based on $149,000. It was based on 12.5% of savings. So am I right, or?
That's right. Yes. We estimate
percentage-wise based on the adjustment.
12.5% equates to $149,000 per year.
So were you suggesting that that's the aggregate? So you're looking at, you're projecting and having what would be a potential average of what that would be?
That would, yeah, it would rise with the energy rate. So since it's net metering, the utility will give the credit of the energy at that point in time. So
here's my.
Let me clarify. So this saving is calculated by energy production times.
Just go to the mic.
Oh, sorry about that. So this saving is calculated by energy production times the electricity supply, distribution, and transmission rates. So let's assume there is nothing is going to change in our energy production number. As the previous presenter presented, the supply rates increased 2.5% for the last decade. That's what he said, right? So the distribution rates, transmission rates, supply rates are expected to increase in the upcoming years. So as long as the rates increase, the savings potential is going to increase. The number that you have, 149, is the first year savings, and it's not inflation adjusted.
Would it be fair to say, because the previous sponsor or the item before us mentioned that it was roughly a 2.5% increase annually. Some years it's higher, some years it's lower, some years it's zero. And I'm just wondering, as a ballpark estimate, if we were to apply the 2.5% annually to that 149, would that give us a ballpark? If I was to do that, if I was to extrapolate that over 20 years, would that give me a ballpark as to how much money we would be receiving as a city?
It's 12.5. 12.5.
No, well, the question that I asked these gentlemen, through you, Mr. President, was the previous speaker said the cost of electricity has been going up roughly by 2.5%, not 12.5, but 2.5%. So if we use that metric of 2.5% over 20 years, then that, I'm not even sure, if I did a compound interest, I'm sure I could calculate it, I could figure out what that is, but it'd be more than 149. It'd be, who knows what, $5,000 a year or something like that, or
Project
more.
numbers that you have will go up at the same escalation rate at which the energy costs are going up. So we will be continue to increase our money that comes in at that same escalation rate.
All right.
It's going to be even more, potentially,
This is the most conservative.
likely more than 3 million, likely.
Yes, this is very
Got it.
conservative.
Over 20 years period.
Council President.
Councilor Vice President Infante.
Thank you. To add to Councilor LaPlante's discussion, if you look at the slide titled WA Farm Solar Project Details, the term of the net metering program, they have stated here 20 years with additional 2 5-year extension. So if you, when doing the math, it's $4.4 million if you do it as a full 30-year program. So it'll be even more than what you just stated, Councilor LaPlante.
Yeah, but just to clarify a little bit on that, we're gonna, if we do the 20 years period and then make sure that the accountability portion of it on the farm stays at the level that it's supposed to, and then whoever is here at that point might be able to extend a 2 5-year project, but it's going to be based on how the business relationship between us and the farm and the production rate at that point
Yes.
will be
Yeah, and I'd say as an owner, and of course, all these projects are still new and they're not near their 20 years yet, but as an owner of multiple projects like this, we have the ability to what we call augment the project by taking, panels from another project that for whatever reason might not be performing well or is coming to an end. We can take those and supplement any of the panels on an existing system that may be degrading faster than what we had thought. So that's what gives us the option at year 20 to go back to the utility and say, hey, we can squeeze another 5 years out of this system.
Yes,
and then
yes.
again at year 25, so yeah.
Just for the record, on one of your slides, you also mentioned that 87% efficiency. Or you mentioned an 87%. That mean the efficiency of the warranty efficiency on the panels?
So the 87.5% and the 12.5% is the breakdown of what we're offering
Okay,
to
gotcha.
the city in terms of that net metering credit.
Do you have any number when it comes to the efficiency of the panels over time?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we can get that to you. We have engineers that look at that. I think we usually presume 1% degradation every year.
Can you please share that with us?
Sure.
Can you share that with us?
I think we could provide as a follow-up all that data on the system.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilors, any other questions in regard to this project? This is obviously different. I wanna speak on my experience with the farm or the agreement, the net emitters or project that the vocational school have. Shortly after they have the opportunity to own or perhaps to have this agreement in place, they come in front of us to ask for a potential bond allocation that we allow them to borrow money to fix the fields based on the money that they were gonna acquire from these savings, and I believe that the amount of dollars that they were talking about at the school level was close to the 500,000, and they were able to update the fields and so far so on based on the benefit that they get out of these, obviously borrowing money and then paying back once they got those savings. So there is a direct relationship of result, not just what we want to see, but a result based on that local school that we are part of, which is the vocational school. So with that said, councilors, there is any questions in regard to this specific project? All right, I call the questions. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? I think that we call the committee report.
That's a committee report, because we also have a committee report of the ordinance committee.
Okay. So we have, do you mind joining both items? I mean, it's similar. Yeah, and that way we can take one vote on.
The ordinance committee sent this document up to the full council as a committee report. That's the committee's motion. We can tag it along with the budget.
So essentially, this item was sent to both committees, the Budget and Finance, to look at the financial aspect and also looking at any type of questioning around the contract or anything regarding to that. At the Ordinance Committee, the Ordinance Committee discussed this, send it over as a committee report. At this time, I will entertain, there was a motion to accept that as a committee report by the chair of the committee, Councilor Plant. Can I hear a second?
Second.
Properly second. Discussion on the committee report. I hear none, so at this point I call the questions. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
So now we're going to join both items to take one vote for both coming from the Ordinance Committee and also from the Budget and Finance Committee. Do we need to do that as a motion to join them? Because we split them as a motion.
No, you just assign them to different committees.
All right, no problem. So we have one item in front of us, which is item 33224. And at this point, I entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
There is a motion to approve.
Second.
Properly second. Discussion on the approval. This is for a specific amount of years?
20 years.
20 years.
Motion to approve the project, net metering for the 20 years and then,
5 years.
no,
All right.
for the first 20 years and then after that, the city
Yeah,
will
and
figure out.
eventually that potential. All right, there is a motion on that, there is a motion to approve this project for the next, to approve the contract regarding to this project, the net metering agreement, item 33224, for the next 20 years. Properly second. Discussion on this. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Roll call, please, for the records, a 20 years contract.
Councilor Levy is noted as absent. Councilor LaPlante?
Yes.
Councilor Luzon?
Yes.
Councilor Del Rosario?
Yes.
Councilor Santiago?
Yes.
Councilor Marmol?
Yes.
Councilor Reyes is noted as absent. Council Vice President Infante?
Yes.
Council President Rodriguez?
Yes. Motion carries. All right, now we go into the Housing Committee. Thank you. Now we go into the Ordinance Committee. Mr. Chair, from the Ordinance Committee, Councilor Plant.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Ordinance Committee sent out document 123 Washington Street, no parking at any time on east side of Washington Street. And this was sent up to the full council to order a public hearing and make that in the form of a motion.
Yes, motion on the table, properly second. Discussion. I hear none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any negative? The ayes have it. Item 10123.
This item, Council President, is Hillside Ave, one way from Haverhill Street to Yale Street. This was sent up to the full council with a favorable recommendation to order a public hearing. Make that as a motion.
Second.
There's a motion on the table, properly second. Discussion. I hear none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Item 44423. Requesting a voting ID.
So this document is requesting a voter ID, was sent up to the full council as a committee report. And to make that in the form of a motion.
There is a motion to accept this item as a committee report. Properly second. Discussion on the committee report. I hear none. At this point, I call the questions. All those in favor, for the committee report, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Now I entertain any other motion, councilors.
Council President, I make a motion that we approve this matter.
There is a motion to approve this matter.
Second.
Properly second discussion.
Discussion.
Councilor Plant.
Council President, so before us this evening at our desk right here is the language from the city attorney that codifies it. Of course, we're not ordering a public hearing. This would be a home rule petition. And a home rule petition, as we all know, Council President, goes to the state legislature. If it's approved by the city council and approved by the mayor, it goes to the, we can't adopt this by ourselves. It requires a vote of the state legislature and approval by the governor. So the author of this is not here this evening. I'm prepared to vote in favor of it because I'm familiar with this, but I'll leave it there. Those are my discussion purposes. Yeah.
All right, is this item was submitted as a home rule petition?
It has to be because we're changing the laws and only in the city of Lawrence. And that requires a vote of the legislature. You can see by the preamble being enacted by the state and House of Representatives by the authority.
No, the question is if the item was submitted as a home rule petition.
You see, when Councilor Levy put it on the agenda, which she put it on.
I can't speak for Councilor Levy.
I don't think that's the item was submitted as a home rule petition, which it should. Because the intent is to have a home rule petition. You can change over time.
The councilor is not with us this evening, and all I have is the one-sentence memo that just requesting voter ID. It doesn't specifically reference to have it be a home rule petition or not. The attorney obviously knows that it needed to be, so he drafted it accordingly. I think your question is, was it put on the agenda correctly?
Council President,
Councilor Rosario.
through you, and I don't know how it was put on the agenda, and that's what your question, but when she was present with us last Tuesday, she specified that that should have been a home rule petition. Anna was here, Councilor Levy was here last Tuesday, and she specified actually on the microphone that it was supposed to be a home rule petition, and we were waiting just for the language from the city attorney.
But the vote configuration for a home rule petition is different than the regular approval. All right?
A home rule petition would require 6 votes to pass by this body, but other than that, I don't really know of any other. And then it goes to the mayor's office to be signed. And like the legislation for the school audit, it has to have both bodies on board. His veto would nullify it. But aside from 6 votes from this body and really not, the inability to override the veto, I'm not aware of, maybe I'm not understanding the question, but I'm not aware of any other.
So just to the committee, you guys, the committee decided to send this over to the full council as a committee report. There was any discussion around at the committee level as of how many cities and towns in Massachusetts have these specific law? Was there any discussion around that?
So there was discussion, but I can answer the question, which is there is no other law in anywhere else in the Commonwealth that requires a voter ID. We would be the first city or municipality in the Commonwealth to do that if the legislature and the governor approved it.
Well, if the city council vote yes, and then if the mayor sign it, and then it go to the legislation. But I just wondering the type of, what are I mean, there was any discussion around the benefit, the repercussion of having this type of law at the ordinance committee?
So the proponent gave her presentation. This has been in the hopper now since 2023. It was a file from last year. I was not on the committee when this was first brought before, but I can tell you that the counselor did speak, I think, back in '23 on it. And then she was working hard to get this language down to the full council, which she was successful in doing through the city attorney's office. And I think her plan was to get this to this level so that we could have that kind of robust discussion at this council level.
I think that
that's right. I mean, I hate to speak for her.
it will be essential to have Councilor Levy's presentation to this body to make sure that we are educated about her thinking around the voting ID and so far so on. I understand the potential repercussions of it, and I also understand how other countries might use this specific law to perhaps make sure that people vote that is supposed to be the person, but understanding the system and also understanding the system that we have in Massachusetts all throughout this country, pretty much everywhere, I see the negative effect on this as well. So, Councilor De Rosario, do you have anything that you want to add since you were one of the proponents?
I mean, with all the cases that we've been having and everything that's been happening in Lawrence, I mean, the least we can try is just to pass this, and it goes to the state level, and they can make a decision up there. We've been in the loop for all kinds of stuff when it comes to voting for years, not just this year or this past year, but for years it's been questioning, and a lot of us have been asking. This is a proposal. Home rule petition just to send to the state, but a lot of us, some of them are here, some that weren't here back in those days, they've been asking for this thing. So we have it in our hands. I think we just move it through, and then the state legislators decide if it's getting. I mean, what's the negative that we can get out of it? It might be positive. We might be the first city in Massachusetts to pass this, and then all the cities might copy us. And just because we've been in the loop for all kinds of stuff going on our election, this will be a step forward to show some positive move when it comes to elections in Lawrence.
All right, point well taken.
Council President.
Councilor Vice President Infante.
Thank you. I don't recall, through you, Council President, I remember this question being asked, but I don't recall the answer. How would this be enforced for mail-in ballots? Do we have that answer?
Well, essentially what I think it might happen is that you're going to have to get a printer or get to a public printer, get a copy of the ID, and send it over. And then it's going to be up to up to the election division to make sure that ID is not falsified. That's how I think it's going to happen, because I don't really know. Because I also understand that in third world countries, like my country that I feel proud of, they use voting ID, but they don't have absentee ballots and they don't have a vote by mail.
So
it's different
So
completely.
that's why I'm confused, because for years, there's been an ongoing, growing issue with absentee voting and mail-in ballots. The issues that Lawrence has experienced throughout the years has not happened physically at voting locations. It's the other options where we have issues. So I don't see how this is going to help the foundational issue that we have during election season.
Well, essentially, Councilor Rosario?
I mean, in some mail-in ballots, you have to put your ID in it. Some people, when they vote for the first time via mail, and sometimes when the election department has confusion, they also requested for you to send you ballot ID through the mail with the mail ballot. It's not us. They are going to write how this is going to be done. I mean, we just doing the home rule petition. And again, we let the state decide if they approve it, how are they going to implement it and maybe enforce it.
No, because Councilor Rosario, the local elections, it's not the state that enforced the law, it's the local people. I mean, we are, the election division is the
At the end
one
of
that
the,
enforced those
Mr.
laws.
President, at the end of the day, we vote, let's vote whatever we need to vote. I mean, if nobody is in favor of it, I mean, it's fine, it will collapse. I mean, whatever you guys want to do. I mean, I don't know why we cannot try to implement this. What will be the negative effect on this? To be honest with you, I don't see the negative effect to it. But if nobody agrees to it, it's a vote. I mean, and it fails. It
I mean, yeah, yes or no, Councilor
Council
Rosario,
President, I think I
because,
still had the floor.
yeah, but I mean, we need to
But
clarify
I-
this, because
I
I
still
mean,
have
with
the
that,
floor.
those are things, Councilor Vice President, yes, we need to clarify this, because those are discussions that might take place. It happened before in the city council, long time ago. It didn't pass. I don't know at what level. I mean, I think it was at the state level. I don't quite recall, but we can find the records. But it will be important to probably get to understand as of how we're going to be providing that information to the state and to the legislators that haven't seen those bills in front of them on their cities and towns, and then be able for them to make a decision, an informed decision that we need to provide that information.
Council President,
Councilor Blunt.
point of parliamentary
Sure.
inquiry. Just as a reminder, Council President, again, with all due respect, the opinions of the president, he may not express unless he leaves to the chair, and there's several times here that there's been some opinions issued, and I would just caution the council president that if he
Yep.
wishes, I would love to hear it, but he would need to toss the
Yep,
gavel.
and I'm discussing that, the potential questions that Councilor Rosario or any other councilor have. Those are not necessarily my opinion. Those are based on records. Those are based on facts that in the past happened, and those are based on potential issues that we might face. Those not necessarily is my opinion.
Council President, I'd like to make a motion if I can,
I still have
if
the
the
floor.
floor is available.
I still have
Councilor
the
Blunt?
floor.
Apparently, I don't have the floor. I'm going to relinquish the floor to the vice president, who believes she still has the floor, so
It was
I won't
Yeah,
take
but I
it.
mean, Councilor,
I wasn't.
Councilor Vice President, I give the floor to Councilor Rosario, and then I'll provide it to you.
Okay. That's,
You done? You good? Councilor Vice President Infante.
thank you. And I think I just heard Councilor, and I think that's the most appropriate discussion. So I wanted to respond to my colleague, Councilor De Rosario. I personally, I'm one councilor out of 9. I don't have an issue with this home rule petition. I do agree with you that at the end of the day, no matter what is discussed at this level, the state delegation, the state representatives as a whole, the state senate as a whole are the ones that are going to make the final decision. But, and I'm going to re-emphasize, for the counselors and people watching at home, for the years that Lawrence has been in the news over elections, it has not been over physical voting. People have abused mail-in ballots and absentee voting, and that's the reality in our community, and I'm not afraid to publicly say that. What are we going to do with that? Because that is the foundational issue that we have in this community. It's not physical voting. That's a solution that I don't have the answer, but it's an open-ended question for all of my colleagues. What are we going to do about that moving forward?
All right,
Thank you.
Councilor Vice President, you just expressed you agree with the home rule petition, and you also stated that the issues were not what is on the home rule petition. So, what is it?
I'm both, I guess.
Councilor LaPlante.
This is supposed to be a place where we can have differences of opinion. So I have a difference of opinion with the vice
Sure.
president. There has been times physically voting where people and allegations have run rampant through the years of people giving who know that there's a person's name on the voting list would give a different name on the voting list, and the person doesn't know that. You don't ask for the ID, and that does happen. I'm not saying how rampant it is. I'm not saying it's widespread, but I'm suggesting to you that That rumor, that threat, that possibility exists today, and I'm going to stick my powder on why I think we should or shouldn't vote for it for a later discussion, because I hope tonight I'm going to make a motion to table it, but I do have a parliamentary question as well. I'm unfamiliar with the six votes on a home rule petition, so I would ask the clerk to clarify that when she can on that, because I'm going to make a motion to table, we won't need that tonight.
We need to,
But,
actually, yeah. We need 6 votes on the home rule petition.
I'd like to see that at some point. I guess I'm doubting it, but I'd
I
like to see
only
it.
remember specifically because my own position as the chief of staff to the mayor was contingent upon the passage of a home rule petition,
of
which
6.
required 6 votes. So I specifically remember that it's boiled in my brain. It's actually under state law. So that being said, it may say supermajority, or it may say the number 6, but either way,
Okay.
it was a supermajority, which here would be 6.
If Council President, my intent is to give the courtesy to my colleague who is the sponsor, so she could be here, so she can speak to it and answer the questions, because there's a lot of questions here that people have, and I think that she would be best positioned to advocate for the bill that she is sponsoring. So as a courtesy to my colleague, unless anybody else wishes to speak.
Is any, before you make a
yeah,
motion,
go ahead.
anybody else that wishes to speak? Councilor Marmo? No, because you're going to make a motion to table. And then no discussion on that.
Okay. I would like to, standing from those council members that brought this forward, are you guys, I agree with Council President, Council Vice President Infante in terms of, I'm not completely opposed to this, but I am opposed to the fact that when it comes to the absentee and the mail-in ballots, if we're not gaining any clarity as to how we are planning on IDing those type of votes, are you guys opposed to removing or including that as part of the ID requirements? And this is just for those who are physically going to polling locations?
That would be a great question.
Council President, again,
Councilor LaPlante.
not the author, but I think I can at least shed some insight. This is not the definitive answer. I believe, and the clerk can help me again, sorry, clerk, to put you on the spot, but here we go. I believe there are times that there's a requirement that when you submit something, if it's whether it's an absentee or ballot of some sort, that you must also present a picture ID. I don't recall the specifics behind that. So clerk, do you remember in the election division when, because I remember that last year that we had
It's not an ID, it's a proof of address.
there was a time when someone needed to submit also with maybe it was the voter registration, they had to submit a picture ID with it. I just don't remember all the details. Can you help?
I know it's not a photo ID because I know proof of address can be a utility bill. So I know it's not a photo ID, but you do have to provide proof of address. If you have not, even in situations where you haven't returned to census, you can get made, it should be a, I can't think of the word, but it's inactive, basically, an inactive voter. You're still on the voter rolls. We can see you, but you're not showing as active. You have to reactivate yourself. They can require an ID, but any proof of address will do, including utility bill. So that's not a photo ID. It should, you bring in literally your utility bill, which would have your name and your address on it, does not have your photo on it. You can use that to vote. So we do not have a photo ID requirement at this time.
So I'm sorry, so maybe it's not a photo ID, but some sort of identification, something that establishes that who you are and that this is where you live.
All right, this is
So I'll make a motion to table at some point, but tell me when, Council President.
This is how it is. If you're inactive and you're required to vote, even when you go to the booth, you're required to have some type of proof of address, which could be a proof of address, not necessarily your ID. And just to put it in perspective, if election would have been yesterday, I stayed without voting because I lost my license because I was cycling on Sunday, and then I lost my license. So I've stayed without voting. No vote for the council president. Sorry, because there's no ID. So that's the reality. But anyway, I'll entertain a motion.
I make the motion to table.
Second.
Motion to table, properly second. No discussion on the table matters. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Next item from the Budget and Finance Committee. Item 250-24. Loading zone.
Uh, 250-24, loading, the ordinance committee met for this document, which is a loading zone at Heritage Packing Incorporated at 441 Market Street. This was sent up to the full council with a favorable recommendation to order a public hearing. I make that as a motion.
Second.
There's a motion on the table, properly second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any noes? The ayes have it. Next item, item 284-24.
This is the Datter Day program that's going to be on August 24th, 2024, from 1 to 5 p.m. at Campagnon Common. The ordinance committee met and sent us up with a favorable recommendation, and to make that in the form of a motion.
Second.
There is a motion on the table, properly second. Before I call the questions, I would like to extend the opportunity to the group that is here and to speak to us a little more about this important event. Yeah.
Good evening.
Because I need to leave.
I had a total
And
knee
then 1, 2,
replacement 4 weeks
3,
ago.
4, 5.
That's why I'm not walking too carefully. But those who know me, I will recover. Good evening, Mr. President. Good evening, members of the City Council. My name is Frank Audi. I was the chairman of the Lawrence Appeals Court that was here for 19 years, right where you're sitting, Mr. President, and we had some great issues over zoning board issues with a wonderful group of people that I served with for about 19 years. So I am very aware of what you're trying to do here tonight, and I want you to know that hard work does pay off. Presently, Tom Fitzpatrick and Sean English are with myself co-leaders of the Fatherhood Program. We've been doing this for a number of years, and I have one question that I want to ask the council members. I want people to raise their hands if they're not familiar with the Fatherhood Program. Good. I guessed 4, so I did good. Thank you for doing that. The Fatherhood Program is the product of the Massachusetts Trial Court and the staff at Lawrence District Court Probation Department for the last 29 years. They've run the program. I was the probation officer who started it 29 years ago. And at this time, the Assistant Chief Probation Officer, Tivo Concepcion, is one of our strongest supporters in the Fatherhood Program. He himself went through the probate and family court on very serious issues and went from not being able to see his children to now having shared custody of those children. He is like a guiding light to the fathers who come to the program. He's a guest speaker, and he talks constantly about the fact that it takes time, but children have only one father and one mother, and they need both of them. So he's been a great champion of that. The Fatherhood Program, most people think, is something, what is it? And Tom, would you give to the members here a copy of the 5 principles? I want you to keep these because I think this will help you to understand the program. Thank you very much, sir, Counselor. We live by these 5 principles, so I'll wait till I give them out, and I think you'll understand why. I think there's enough. Oh, there is enough. Oh, fantastic. All right. So before the meeting starts, for the last 29 years, and to be in the program, you have to complete 12 weeks. You have to say the following. As a father, it is my responsibility to give affection to my children, to give gentle guidance to my children, to provide financial support to my children and the mother of my children, to demonstrate respect at all times to the mother of my children, and to set a proud example for my children by living within the law and without the taint of alcohol or drug abuse. Once that's said, we do the go-around, G-O-A-R-O-U-N-D. And we would ask if you were all fathers, presume you are for a moment, to state your name, full name, the name and age of your children, and never call them kids. We forbid that in the fatherhood program. They're children. Kids are on a word we don't use. And after you name their children and their ages, say one positive thing you've done with them since the last time you were in this room. That takes sometimes 35 to 40 minutes just to do that. Once that's done, we have guest speakers, and TiVo is one of those speakers. And the guest speaker would introduce himself and talk about one of the principles. TiVo talks about principle number 4 for the last 10 years. He comes in and explains what happened to him through the probate and family court, his relationship with the mother of his children, and his present relationship with his children. Right now, he has 2 in college. One's about to go to college, and I've known those children since they were 3 years old. So they've been involved in the program for all those years. After the guest speaker speaks, the members of the fathers ask the speaker questions about how he presented, and guess what happens? The fathers start talking about their families. So everything that's said in the fatherhood program stays there. So if Mr. LaPlante, who knows me pretty well, says, how is Bobby doing in the program? My answer is, Bobby's in the program. So that what's said there, and he has spoken at the fatherhood program, so he knows that. So that is a pretty good thing. And at the end of the program, we ask the guest speaker to say the 5 principles again to close the meeting. So from start to finish, we read the 5 principles. They each have a plastic one, and I don't have enough money to give you each a plastic one, so I gave you a blown-up copy, but you can frame that if you like, and maybe I'll give you one next time. So the fatherhood program, a lot of people think that the fatherhood program is just about fathers. So what I want to say to this group is that's not true. The only thing we talk about in the fatherhood program is the children and the mother of those children. No other conversation is allowed, and it can never be negative. I say, go to the nearest bar, talk to the bartender, he'll listen to you, but we won't. And what happens all the time is the fathers get very much involved because they see others making progress, and they want to do the same. So that's the fatherhood program. But I'd like Sean Burke to talk for a few moments about what happened to us that we never expected. Last year, we were able to start a nonprofit organization called Dadder-Day Legacy, Inc. And it's made up with only fathers that are in the fatherhood program. So they raise money, write proposals, came to the mayor and asked him if we could get we asked him for $2,500, and he said, you should ask for a little more than that. So we asked for $12,000, and we ended up with $10,000. The Dadder-Day group runs programs in the public, and that's what Dadder-Day is there. So every year, and this will be our 4th year, we meet at the Commons, and all you have to do to go there is be a father or a mother who has children and wants to be there for the day. Now, since last August, a bunch of fathers have completed the program. We're going to give them a huge certificate the day that we're at Dadder-Day. And what we'll do is I'll say, Johnny Jones, where's your children? And where's the mother of your children? And they'll stand up, and they'll come up, and we'll give the certificate to their children who give it to their father in front of everybody else. I'm going to start crying because it's the high point of the whole year, and it's everything we live for. So we're happy to be able to get the permit tonight to be there to do that. So I'd like Sean to talk a little bit about what are some of the things that
Motion,
Data Day does.
before you continue, can I get a motion to pass then?
So moved.
There's a motion on the table, properly second, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. You may continue.
Thank you. Sean, we'll just take a couple of minutes. if you don't mind.
Thank you very much. My name is Sean Burke. Data Day, fatherhood is the opportunity for people to talk about being a parent. And Data Day was created for the execution of being a parent. A little different, right? First, I would be a guest speaker there, and I'm like, people are just talking. We don't really know what's happening with regards to the person when they leave. And we wanted to be able to support them in becoming a parent and learning how to be a parent. Many people struggle with this. I have a social work business in the courts. I see this on a regular basis, and people want to be invested, but sometimes don't have the tools to do it. So one of the things that Data Day focuses on is the execution of being a parent, of giving that opportunity, because it doesn't matter when you're a child. If you have any parent that's not involved, that's a lifelong piece of that affects them for their life. And it doesn't matter if they're 10 years old, 18 years old, 35 or 57. They remember if they didn't have a parent around or somebody that they could be with. The biggest thing that we find with fathers that I feel like that I hear is that, money is a piece of that puzzle for them to feel comfortable with going and being with their children. And sometimes they don't have the money. They don't have the cash flow. They're barely surviving in everyday life. Data Day legacy, as we say, legacies are not necessarily born. It's not going to just happen all the time. But we can all be a part of that. Your support, our efforts are all one. They're all moving to the same direction that families in Lawrence, families everywhere are super important. And it doesn't matter how we help those families, it's that we help those families. Those kids deserve an opportunity, and Data Day is doing that. We did it with, we've had 2 events at the boating club, both of them very successful. We were very fortunate to have some of you there. And we did building model airplanes and rockets over at the airport. Why is this so important? Is because we're learning how to help people. We don't know it all. We actually have learned that some things don't work. I actually am honored in the fact that not everything's perfect. But what we've learned is when people were building rockets and airplanes, they had interactions with their kids that some of them never really had the opportunity to have. And we also highlighted things where, like that you already have here in Lawrence. For example, the boating club in the airport. Some of those individuals that come to these have never been to those facilities, and that was their opportunity to do that. The airport was excellent. The management there was phenomenal. They brought the people that did this project. We did over a 3-week period on Tuesday nights, I believe it was. And we got to go up into the tower and see planes landing. Kids were very excited about that. Parents a little bit more. And so all of these things are so important. The Data Day event that's in the park is a great opportunity because people can just come, right? It's a little bit more relaxed and not as, focused around, hey, this is going to happen at this time and that time. This is just an opportunity for parents to come. Last year we had lots of mothers with their children. Everyone's welcome. It just happens to be that we're called Data Day because Data Day is about being a parent. And fathers, we want to welcome them into the community of being a parent. And some people feel isolated. Maybe they didn't do a great job up until they went to fatherhood. But now they have an opportunity to do the job and be able to talk about it with a lot lower risk. And while the people are at at these events, we actually take photos of them. We give them to them. We have a mock trial so that people can learn how to speak in front of a judge when they cannot afford a lawyer. And one of the things we do is we say, hey, this is a photo, and we do it over at Lawrence District Court, and to present that photo so that the judge can make a connection between who they are, who their child is. This is not at the expense of anyone else. This is empowering people. So this permit is much bigger than a piece of paper, is what I'm trying to say to all of you. In that all of you should be very proud of the fact of everything that you do for the community. We're very proud of the fact that we're able to help people that want to help and invest in themselves. So if we could, get that continued support from you with the permit, that would be fantastic, and we hope to live up to our end and make sure that as many people as possible have that opportunity to spend some time with their family. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilors, any questions in regard to this event? This time I call the questions. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Do you mind sharing with us, send us last year information about the event and everything? No, on an email. So if you can please send it to us by email, the flyer?
They just want you to send that to them by email.
Oh, yeah, we'll do that on a regular basis now.
Thank you.
We have events that we started last year for the first time. This year will be the second time. So when we have the events, we have people give us their emails, and that's what we have. This past Sunday, we did smooth sailing. 123 people showed up. 53 of them were children, and the rest were adults. Now, this is what happens when you put good people together. One of the fathers said, I think I know on a Sunday afternoon when it's 90 degrees what kids want to do. So I get nervous when I hear that. Start thinking, well, see, he said, I brought balloons, and we filled them with water. And we told the children, throw the balloons at somebody you love. So they threw them at the fathers. They love the mothers. No, I'm only kidding about that. But we had a great time. They had donated to us hot dogs and hamburgers. The voting program called us and said, you've got to come back again this year and next year. They had extra staff on. The young people who were there in the voting program were so good to these young children. They didn't even know that there was a voting program in Lawrence. That's what they learned. What better way to learn than to go? The pontoon boat went on for 4 hours straight. They had to extend it another half hour because they had so many children and fathers and mothers who wanted to go. So what happens when you put things together day to day, that people come out to it and have a good time.
So
Great,
if I
thank
could just
you.
add one thing, if that's okay?
Sure.
So one of the things that we've been working on is fathers have been telling us that they're having difficulty with visiting with their children, especially when there's a restraining order or there is something that may be blocking that. Maybe their history is not so good with the communication, or maybe they're in an unhealthy relationship, or they view it that way. So we've, with Merrimack Family Services, Merrimack Valley Family Services,
That's a green right down the street here
Yes.
on Adams Street.
we're opening a visitation center for fathers. We'll probably, we're gonna let mothers go too. But the idea is we would open up the idea of being able to do this inexpensively to free for Lawrence residents, because it's so important for the first time to be able to have that interaction with your child. And I'll give an example. Frank and myself met with the sheriff. The sheriff was very interested in the idea of the visitation center when people are released for their first interaction with their child, because some mothers, for obvious reasons, you may not want to send your child to go visit somebody at the jail. So this may be a great opportunity for somebody who's within the community to try to re-engage that family aspect. So we're going to learn, what works and what doesn't work. And this is one of the things that we're doing, and all that support that you guys gave us last year, we're trying to really make some positive things within the community And, we really have high expectations for ourselves. So thank you.
To meet their child in a safe place to do it. So when they go there, it's going to be somebody like Tom or Sean who will say to the father, "Did you ever hear about the fatherhood program? Here's an application." Then we're going to say to the mothers, "Do you know anything about programs that go on at the family services for mothers?" "No." "Well, here's an application for that." So that's what's going to happen just for the visitation.
No, thank you for everything you guys are doing, for real.
And we're going to send you from now on to the secretary, whatever events that we have.
Yep.
We really appreciate you listening to us.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna go with the next item, item 3/2024.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, from the, thank you. Item 3/2024, which is Mind with Purpose.
Yeah, the Minds with the Purpose was sent up to the full council, a favorable recommendation. This is taking place on August 11th, 2024 at O'Connell Park, and make that in the form of a motion.
There's a motion on the table, on the table, properly second, discussion. I hear none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, item 3/2124.
The Feast of the Three Saints, August 30th, 31st, and September 1st this year. There's a city parking lot on the common that they want to use for a carnival. This was sent up to the full council with a favorable recommendation. That's the motion.
There's a motion on the table, can I hear a second, properly second, discussion. I hear none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Item 320, okay. Item 32324, Mr. Chair from the Ordinance Committee. Proposed new ordinance, manager of financial.
This is the proposed new ordinance for a manager of financial administrative services. This was sent up to the full council to order a public hearing. Make that in the form of a motion.
Motion to order a public hearing on this
Second.
item, properly second, discussion. I hear none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Any nays? The ayes have it. Item 32724.
It's a one-way on Hillside Street, starting on Haverhill Street to the Hill. This was sent, this was actually sent to the full council to withdraw. It's a duplication. Make that in the form of a motion.
There's an item to withdraw, properly second. Discussion on the withdrawal. I hear none. All those in favor, please say aye on the withdrawal.
Aye.
The ayes have, any nays? The ayes have it. Item 33224. Yes, you're right. So now we're gonna go with that, with the Housing Committee. With that item, I'm gonna have to abstain due to a potential conflict of interest. Madam Vice President.
Okay, the Housing Committee, item 298-24, Madam Chair of the Housing Committee.
Okay. Through you, Madam Chair, on item number 29824, the acceptance of a street layout plan for Amesbury and Lawrence Street area for Amesbury Street two-way redevelopment project. It was discussed in the Housing Committee, and we refer this matter to the full council with a favorable recommendation, and I submit that to you in the form of a motion.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Del Rosario. Discussion? Mr. McCarthy, I see you in the, is there anything you would like to add?
No.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? The ayes have it.
Thank you. Thank you all.
What else do we have? All business? Now, councilors, we're gonna go to old business. Old business, that is a item 76-824, which is the resolution amending the rescinding reimbursement requirement for the creation of the Drive Allowance Grant Awareness for the amount of $400,000 to the Federación Hispana de Comerciantes. This was sent to us by the advisor Spanner and the mayor De Peña. There was a request for reconsideration. So there is a request for reconsideration on what? So there is any background information about this item? So I'll this point, I mean, we have no information as to what they're looking for.
Motion to table.
There's no motion to table. We can table it.
Council President, we voted on that.
Exactly.
Why is this being sent again?
If it is a motion to reconsideration, but reconsideration of what? Because it was a vote, and then a veto, and then an override the veto, so I really don't know what's the intent. At this time, I will.
Don't know the intent. Do you want me to try to, I don't have any additional paperwork. I did receive a phone call asking that I be placed back on for reconsideration. I don't think after discussing with the council president at length today, I don't think the procedure that was followed was appropriate. With other items, when they've asked to like move funds back from ARPA monies from the cemetery back to community development or things like that, they put on a new item. So putting it on the way they did without any backup documentation probably was not the appropriate venue to begin with. So, but they did ask if we would put it back on and have it be reconsidered.
So Council President, who, just out of curiosity, who's on the prevailing side that could offer a motion to reconsider?
Who is in the prevailing side?
No, I could tell you about it.
So I don't think we'll be able to do much with this item specifically, because this item went through all the way, the whole court. So approve or not approve.
Last item would be the override of the veto.
Exactly, we can reconsider that vote.
I'm curious as well, who's on the prevailing side of that?
Everybody, everybody but you. Like, to override the veto was,
Anybody but me can make
yeah, Councilors Luzon, Del Rosario, Santiago,
No, but I mean,
Marmol.
I mean, for us to be able to get to what they want, if they want to do that, we're gonna have to not just override, reconsider the vote to override the veto, but we need to go back to the other items as well. 3 items, three vote instead of just resubmitting it as a right, as it's supposed to be. If you want the money to go from one department to another department, you submit it as such, and then we proceed with the court as it's supposed to. But not just putting all the work on us, like reconsidering the vote of the veto. And then the item stays as how it was, which is approved. So, and then we need to reconsider the vote of the approval. And then go back a couple of votes more, like one more, to be able to send it to committee. And because we already approved the item. So the parliamentary procedure on that will be a lot more difficult than just receiving a new item from the administration with the intent of what they're looking for.
Council President,
Councilor Rosario.
can we just send it back? Send it back so they can send it back to us with more information or whatever exactly they needed to do. So I will offer a motion to send it back to the mayor's office to
No,
get.
the thing is, Councilor Rosario, that we can't send this item back because we already, the item was approved, veto, and then override the veto. So this item have no effect on what they want to do.
Maybe send correspondence.
We can send correspondence to them.
Correspondence to the mayor's office. Clarification of what exactly they want to reconsideration for.
And even that, for us to be able to to even discuss this, we need to reconsider a vote. So to be honest with you, we can off record send correspondence to them, but officially under this item we can't until we reconsider the vote. So we can unofficially do that, but I mean, we're not moving forward with that. We just move forward on the tail matters. Any table matters that we need to discuss tonight? I hear none, so at this point, I'm gonna go to new business. On the new business, item 324, naming of the South Lawrence East Athlete Field, David Ortiz Athletic Complex, that was sent out, that's gonna be referred to the ordinance committee. Item 33524, 15-minute parking at 152 Broadway, that's gonna go to the ordinance committee. Item 33624, the removal of 2 stop signs on Canal Street, intersections of Appleton and Mill Street. This is gonna refer to the ordinance committee. Item 33724, stop sign on Appleton Street at Canal Street from the bridge heading northly. That's gonna go to the ordinance committee. Item 32824, stop sign at the Museum Square Garage at Canal Street, heading to northly. That's gonna go to the ordinance committee. 33924, a stop sign on Mill Street and at Canal Street. That's gonna go to the ordinance committee. Item 34124, the Speaker River cleanup on September 21st. That's gonna go to the ordinance committee. Item 34224, the removal of the handicap parking on Broomfield Street. That's gonna go to the ordinance committee. Yes, I'm gonna go back to that one now in a second. Item 34324, the removal of handicap parking on Haber Street. That's gonna go to the ordinance committee. Item 34424, no parking here to corner on Logan Street. We don't need an ordinance for that. We're gonna be sending this address to the DPW department for they do not park from here to corner. Item 34524, stop sign at the corner of Haber Street and Columbus Ave. This is gonna go to refer to the ordinance committee. Item 34624, resident parking on Bradford Street. This is gonna go to the ordinance committee. Item 34724, amend a non-union classification plan. This is gonna go to the ordinance committee. Item 34824, the disclosure of potential conflict by a special city employee. This is gonna go to the ordinance committee. Item 34924, the disclosure of potential conflict of interest. This is gonna go to the ordinance committee. Do I need to say the person? Well, that's fine. Item 35024, the disclosure of potential conflict of interest, city employee, Carlene Lapointe. This is gonna go to the ordinance committee. Item 35124, the disclosure of potential conflict of interest, city employee, Geraldina McNeil. This is gonna go to the ordinance committee. Item 35224, the disclosure of potential conflict of conflict by a special city employee, Lorianne Megan. This is gonna go to the ordinance committee. The item 35324, the disclosure of potential conflict of conflict by special city employees, Marlene Murphy, referred to the ordinance committee. Item 35424, the disclosure of potential conflict by a special city employee, Linda Pauline. This is going to go to the ordinance committee. Item 35524, the disclosure of potential conflict by a special city employees, Patricia Drigler. This is going to go to the ordinance committee. Item 35624, the disclosure of potential conflict by a special city employee, Richard Rosso. This is going to go to the ordinance committee. Item 35724, the disclosure of potential conflict by a special city employee, Marlene Toomey. This is going to go to the ordinance committee. Item 35824, the request of amend zoning map R2 to a B1, 341 South Lawrence. This is going to go to the ordinance committee. Can we also send this item to, or ask the zoning board to consider this item?
Yeah, usually The attorney will do that, but I'll make sure that it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Item 35924, grant of utility easement at Lawrence Municipal Apron. This is going to go to the Housing Committee. Item 36024, authorization to spend grant fund for the amount of $250,000, Safer Street and Road for All. This is going to go to the Budget and Finance Committee. Item 36124, approval of contract over 3 years, 5 years specifically between the LPW and Exos Enterprise. This is going to go to the Budget and Finance Committee. Item 36224, authorization to spend grant for the amount of $761,181, fiscal year 2024, FSYI grant. This is going to go to the Budget and Finance Committee. Item 33624, the authorization to spend grant for the amount of $61,250. Additional SSYI grant, $28,750 for the fiscal year 2024 and $32,500 for the fiscal year 2025. This is going to go to the Budget and Finance Committee. Councilors, we have one item, which is item 24024, which is that the Greenway 5K on August 4th, 2024, at the Ninsioldi Market Park. This item, usually we need 2 weeks about to get this type of items approved or this type of permits. The fact that this is going to be a 5 weeks,
We have an extra week between.
we have an
meetings.
extra week between meetings.
Yeah.
We, the date get a little messed up, but I mean, I think we're gonna have to require this item to be considered as an emergency because the event is gonna happen prior to our next meeting and deal with it at this level. So councilors, at this point, if we want this event to happen, which has been quite some time now, we need to consider this item as an emergency. So can I get a motion if council decide to consider this item as an emergency?
Summer.
There's a motion on the table. Can I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion.
Second discussion, Councilor LaPlante.
So where are they looking to have it at the?
At the Anuncio de Marca Park.
That's right, the park.
That's at the end of Island Street.
Yeah, I remember. So
You've
we're
won
gonna,
that one before.
I think I beat you in that race.
Yeah, all the time. I haven't beat you one, but I will. We have competed like 10 times.
Well, he
Just
runs,
for the
with, he
record.
runs with this child, and that's
No, he beat you though.
He did beat me. Yeah, he did beat me.
I got support.
They're here as a matter of principle. They really should be here. They're asking us to do something. They're an applicant. They're an amazing group. They do a lot of things in all our districts. I'm very supportive of all they're doing here, but they should know better than to put something late, number one. Number two, if they're going to put something late, they should be here to advocate for it.
Go ahead.
So anyway, those are my points, and hopefully this will get to them, or I'll tell them myself. But I expect a higher bar from this organization who does such a great job in our city. That's all. Thank you.
No problem. Understood. Point well taken. Councilors, at this point, I'll call the questions to declare this an emergency. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it.
And the second one to-
So now,
And the second one to approve it.
now, councilors, we are opening the floor to discuss this item at this level.
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve has been taken. Any second? Second. Properly second discussion. At this time, I call the questions. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Councilors, we have no other items. There is any other items?
Motion
that
to
we should
adjourn.
speak? There's a motion to adjourn, properly second.
Committees.
I'll entertain motions. So
I
committees.
withdraw my motion.
Ordinance.
Tuesday,
Tuesday at 7 p.m. Next Tuesday. Budget and Finance.
July 31st at 7 PM.
July 31st, 7 p.m. Why don't we put it together?
I'm giving you guys a week off.
No, put it together. That way we all be here on that day. On the 30th.
For the record, I'm going to be away next week, so I actually don't mind the 31st, and I could put housing at 6, if that works for everybody. But I want to hear what you were going to say.
No, I was
prior.
going to suggest to have that the Budget and Finance together with the Committee of the Whole, which is going to be on the 30th.
I'll keep it at 30th.
You're going to be here on that day?
Well, you still have to schedule housing, so let's just keep it the 31st. Housing can be at 6, budget and finance at 7.
You have the 3 of them together.
Hmm?
Because it's only one item for housing.
Okay.
5, 6, 7.
Okay, so, all right, so, fine. Budget and finance, the 30th at 6 PM.
All right, we have Budget and Finance and a Committee of the Whole on the 30th, one at 6, one at 7, Housing Committee.
Housing, I'll do 5:30 then.
There's only one item. All right, 5:30 for Housing on the 30th. And any other committee? Safety, the Safety Committee? Economic Developments? Personnel? All right. Thank you, councilors. We have the committee already set. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Huh? All those in favor, please say aye. The ayes have it. Thank you so much.